Hey everybody, so this is it's a Cannondale frame, press fit 30 bottom bracket, and we've got a Shimano crank in here, 24mm spindle. And so this is just one of these little Delrin spacers, reducers I guess you could say. So basically the little reducer fits into the 30mm bore and adapts it to a 24mm crank spindle. So the downfall to these is that it basically relies on the BB30 bearing. So that particular bearing was feeling a little tired, pretty notchy and bagged out. So what we wanted to do is replace this system. There are pros. You can swap this in and out with the BB30 crank using the regular bearing. So that's a pro. The con is it puts too much stress on that bearing with this that style. So what we went with was this Wheels Manufacturing. It's the PF30. It's an outboard. The bearings set at the very furthest points, so it puts a lot less stress on the bearings, being as far as you can get them outboard. So basically the kit, it's a two-piece bottom bracket. It comes with a little spacer pack, and the instructions, you have to basically just go on to Wheels Manufacturing's site there and you'll get the directions. But this particular one, it threads together. I actually like the two-piece thread together type as opposed to a one-piece press in like some of the BB Infinite, Habini, stuff like that. We'll get into why here in just a bit. But so this particular bike, it had a as far as your press fit interface, it's basically you've got a bearing that's there's a cup. It's either metal or plastic pressed into the frame, and then the bearing actually presses into that. It's not, the bearing doesn't press directly into the frame. So I got the bearing out. This particular one, it had been adapted to an aluminum cup, which seemed like those work slightly better than the plastic press-in cups that you'll typically see on a press fit bottom bracket. So we're just going to knock those cups out. I was hoping they weren't Loctited in, because sometimes that can be a major hassle. Sometimes you have to heat them up a little bit to kind of deactivate that Loctite there. But so basically we're knocking the cups out here, and my thoughts on what my experience with a one-piece versus a two-piece adapter bottom bracket type thing is the one-piece. I've had issues in the past with a few of them. Well, two reasons. Like, let's say this particular bike, we put a one piece, essentially you're gonna bond that thing in there with some heavy sleeve adhesive type Loctite. And if this guy wanted to go to a Di2 system, typically the little A junction box will be down in there. You gotta get your wires through, and it's just a pain having to. If you have an open access to a bottom bracket, it's way easier. And it just gives you the option if you're switching cranks later on. I don't know. Anyway, here's the bare frame. Got the cups out. We're just going to clean it up, prep it for the new bottom bracket. But anyway, what I've seen on a few of those, the main issue is that carbon fiber and aluminum, they expand and contract at different temperatures differently. So I've had issues with the one-piece ones migrating out when you don't want them to. Like, they'll start to actually physically work their way out of the frame. And other times when you want to get them out, it's a major pain to get them out. So yeah, that's the basic short version of that. But so carbon fiber direct frame material there. I'm using some some basically Teflon PTFE based grease here between the aluminum bottom bracket shell and the carbon frame interface. I don't like to use Loctite unless it's just a really, really sloppy fit. I'm putting some just normal grease here on the threaded part of the bottom bracket where those two pieces thread together. Got a nice amount of PTFE grease, where the flange is going to go, and then where the actual inside part sets into where it contacts the frame there. And you know, I had one of these on a GXP setup on. I had a Cannondale frame, and I put one in. I've got a video of it. I put one on, ran it for 15,000 miles, and then I eventually sold the bike to somebody, and the bearing still felt great when I sold it, and never had any issues with creaking or anything like that, which just compared to a Press Fit 30 BB30, you know, the main the root cause is always you know. Anyway, the tool I'm using, let me just backpedal here just a bit. This is the old Park Tool BBT69. There's actually a BBT 69.2 now that's got a little bit of knurling. I'll put a link to those. But these are my favorite tools for putting, you know, it's just a 16 notch, 44 millimeter bearing tool. Works on Shimano Hollowtech, GXPs, tons of other brands, but these are nice because they don't mar up the aluminum cups that thread in on a typical British threaded bottom bracket or Italian or just whatever. But yeah, I like to put grease on this interface on carbon. You know, if it's just a steel frame press fit type, I'll just use regular grease, or if it's titanium, I'll use anti-seize. But yeah, you want to just torque these down to where that outer flange just contacts the frame, just snug it down, and that's pretty much it. It's in there nice and square, and I like that this is engineered to work well, but it's also engineered somewhat for the bike mechanic, so super easy to take that thing back out if you need to later on down the line. Way easier than trying to remove a bonded in one-piece bottom bracket. That's for 100% sure. I don't know if you've ever had to try to remove one of those, but it's a major nightmare. So anyway, or it can be. So anyway, we got this little spacer / seal pack. We've got a set of, I don't know, I think there's a couple half millimeter, a couple millimeter spacers, and then these are the little dust seals. The tech's going to be facing outwards where it says Wheels Manufacturing. So I got the one dust seal on, put some greased up the spindle there, and yeah, we're just going to slide it in. I'll usually try these first without any of the shims. I think this bottom bracket was exactly 68 millimeters wide, so got the other dust seal on. I'm just going to mock it up, put the other crank arm on here, and what you want to look for is you want to get maximum purchase of the crank arm onto the spindle. And so with that pressed on, you want to be able to engage that little tab, but you want to have that pushed on as far as possible. If I can, you know, if you get it all the way and then you still have some side play where you can move those cranks back and forth, and you need to put some of the shims in to take that out. But threading in my little Shimano preload cap with my little Park tool, and this is just one of those feel things. You kind of just got to be able to feel when the crank arm is contacted all the way. There's no side to side play, and it spins nice and free. I know some little tools have an actual torque guide on there, you know, like half a Newton meter or something crazy like that. But it's just a feel thing, you know, kind of like adjusting a cone on a loose ball hub. You don't use a torque wrench to get the right point there. You got to be able to feel. Anyway, going back and forth, alternating, torquing the Shimano bolts here back and forth until you gradually reach the 12 to 14 Newton meter point. Thing spins like a dream right out of the box. And so yeah, that's basically it. It's pretty simple install and works way better than any BB30 PF30 crank that I've experienced. Those work well, but they just require a lot of maintenance. But anyway, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Got tons more videos you can watch, or go ahead and subscribe. Yeah, anyway, thanks for watching.